you're gonna break into. On you.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, hope you're doing all right. Got a busy show scheduled for today and the rest of the week. And we're hitting the road. But first, the show's being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That's Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099, 845-221-4099. The show's also being brought to you in part by my friends down at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Hey, man, if you like cool people to hang with, if you like drink specials all the time, if you like live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights, and if you like fantastic food to stuff your face with, well, then you're going to love the Halftime Bar and Grill. Give them a call for directions or reservations, 518-792-4869, 518-792-4869, Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9. Check out baseball. You can watch baseball or basketball. Baseball season just kicked off. That's another show. I'll get to that later. Coming up a little later on the show, of course, we got some emails to read. Speaking of emails, don't forget about Billy C's Talk to Me, man. Talk to me, man. We're going to be doing that show today, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on BillyCBoxing.com. We have been having some issues with the streaming company. So if you should be watching live right now, and all of a sudden the stream, we lose the stream, give it a few minutes, and it will come back. But chat room is alive and well, open, BillyCBoxing.com. And that's the place to go when you tune into Billy C's Talk to Me, man, 1 p.m. Eastern today. Phone lines will be open. You can call and give your thoughts about the big fight this weekend that just happened. Another great one. We'll get to that a little bit later. If you're on another planet, or maybe you were on vacation to another planet. Bam Bam Rios and Mike Alvarado picked up right where they left off, except the decision went to Alvarado this time. We'll talk about it. Our very own Tony Train was ringside. I was ringside for a bloodbath up at the beautiful resort, Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. Man, that was a strange fight, and even stranger when the fighter says that he'll stop it, and then his promoter Bobby Hitz flipped out, and a lot of the fans were complaining. I mean, there was so much blood in that fight. I'll get to it a little later, man. It was just, it was a vampire's dream. That's what it was, really. And I wasn't even sitting on the ring apron, and we got blood splattered on us. So, coming up later this week, we got the Blast from the Past. Kevin Kelly will be our Blast from the Past this week. And also, Tony and I are going to be doing a heavyweight spotlight. We will be shining the spotlight on former world heavyweight champion Kenny Norton. Yep. We'll be talking about Ken Norton. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick, go check out the website, www.billycboxing.com. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a poster. It says the Wilderness Movie. Check it out, man. Here's what it is. All right, now we're just, I like to promote the sport of boxing 100%. And what this is it's actually a film over on the other side of the pond. That's right, over in England. That's where they're going to do the film. Of course, we're going to be able to see it here. But it's about a fighter. And it's actually a fighter who fought 100 years ago in the Olympics, and you say to yourself 100 years ago, wow, that's a long time. It was early 1900s, and a lot of historical connections with the sport of boxing in that era, and this is a great project. Do yourself a favor, take a minute and click the poster and read the Kickstart profile on it, and do what you can do. Yeah, I mean, you want to get your names in the credit of the movie. You send a donation. I don't know what the detail is, but check it out because I'm supporting the movie, and as well as a matter of fact, who knows? Maybe I'll even weasel my way into the movie. So we support it. We want you to check it out, support it. Let me know what you think of the idea. Drop me an email, Billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Hey, don't forget to join our Facebook group. The group is called Talking Boxing with Billy C. Join it, man. It's just for the diehard boxing fan. All right, we got some emails we're going to read. And don't forget, 1 p.m. Eastern, talk to me, man. We'll be doing all of our emails. We got a bunch of emails ready for that show, plus the phone lines will be open. And it's driven by you, the boxing fan. Oh, don't forget, next week, man. On Saturday, April 6th. Make sure you tune into LDL TV. We're going to be broadcasting a live event, so check that one out. It's going to have a pretty good cruiserweight main event, so check that out. And if you're in the Miami area, get yourself some tickets. There's a fight poster up on BillyCBoxing.com. Just click on it's on the left-hand side. That poster, I believe, is on the left, so scroll down and check it out. Click it, and you can get yourself some tickets. Love to see you there. So check that out. And especially, I want to give a shout-out to everybody that I saw up at the Turning Stone. It was a fun time. Pretty good crowd up there. But anyway, Zell shit. That's what his name is. Says, you never care about what the district attorney said about no other boxer. Keep your damn gun at home and be smart. The ghost made a mistake. Yeah, he did make a mistake. It was pretty stupid of him. My point about the district attorney was, and you know what, Zell shit, the bottom line is this. I think if you go back and listen to some shows, I will tell you that I have quoted some other authority people. DAs, I don't think I ever got another quotable thing, but I do know that I quoted the judge in Floyd Mayweather's case, when they said, "What do you think this is? This is a jail." It's not. When they were complaining that Floyd didn't like the food and that they wanted to bring in his own food and stuff, and the judge says, well, "This is jail, man. I mean, that's what you get, you know." But yeah, so I have. So it wasn't. If you're inferring, you know, if the bottom line is you're making it seem like, you know, I'm a big Ghost fan or something like that, and I was trying to stick up for him. My whole point was just simply this. You know, they treated him with disrespect. He was wrong, 100% wrong. Don't get me wrong. If you listen to the whole show on Friday, you would hear me say that I didn't like the way the DA said it, but I agreed with him. He was right. You know, and the comment Zelshit is referring to is the one where the DA says, "I hope he's got more brain. I hope he can fight better than think," or whatever along those lines. Basically, I hope he can fight better than he can think, or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I do agree with Zelshit that Ghost made a mistake. No question about that. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I got several other emails to read. We got the fight results to talk about. We got some news happening. All that stuff is coming up in about 2.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Riselli Enterprises. Riselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Riselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RiselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the #15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IDO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the #15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching the replay on LDL TV. Glad you could join us. Speaking of LDL TV, don't forget next week. Now, we got some stuff going on at LDLTV.com. We got this weekend coming up from Miami. So tune in right there. I think we're starting 7, maybe 8 o'clock. You got to check out the website for all the information, www.ldltv.com. Then next week, we're going to be broadcasting live from Fernandina Beach, Florida. Basically a boxing historical event plus a Guinness Book of World Records. Sal Senecola is returning to the ring after 25 years. Yeah, you heard it right. 25 years he's been in retirement. He's 53 years old. The guy's older than me. He's in fantastic shape. He's going to be returning to the ring. From what I understand, ticket sales are great. If you want to get some tickets, you better get them now. I believe all the ringsides are even sold. And they're anticipating a great turnout, as well as there's a fantastic card to complement South Santa Cola. So check that out for anybody that's not in the North Florida area. You will be able to tune into LDL TV and check out the stream. I'm going to be calling the action with Nate Campbell. So we're excited about that. So check that one out. We got back-to-back weekends that you can catch some webcasts on LDL TV. And then some. We're going to be doing some great stuff. So make sure you check out BillyCBoxing.com and LDL TV all next week because we're going to be broadcasting from Florida right here. This show will be broadcast from Florida. And we're going to be having some fun, I hope. Well, my luck, it's going to be raining coldy, right? Raining cold, right? But anyway, Big Knuckle says, Robert should have, and this is about Robert the Ghost Guerrero being pretty stupid, getting busted with a gun at the airport in New York. He says, Robert should have known better. I agree. He says, don't bring a gun into New York unless you're going to murder somebody. And even then you shouldn't bring it in. You should get one from New York if you're thinking about that. But good guys can't have guns in New York. No one can have guns in New York legally, really, unless you have a permit. He says, and why has nobody kidnapped that billionaire, power-hungry mayor, Bloomberg, yet? I agree with Big Knuckles' description of him. I just don't want to say it on the air. He says, step up your game, thugs. He says, New York sucks anyway. Stay away from this crap hole. I disagree with him there. He says, obviously, I don't know if you live in New York, but I do. And New York is not a crap hole. He obviously used a different word. New York, in my opinion, is the best state of all the states here in the U.S. of A. We have it all. I was just talking about this at the fights the other night. We were laughing. Actually, I was at the tables, but we were laughing because the guy says, "Oh, what part of New York are you from?" I'm like, "What? How do you know I'm from New York?" And he says, "Yeah." But I said, people don't get it. People that don't live in New York think that New York is just Manhattan. That New York State is just one big city. And then when you hear comments like the DA made about Robert the Ghost Guerrero, which not saying he wasn't correct, but just as no respect, derogatory comments. You could see why people feel the way Big Knuckle is describing. But the truth of the matter is New York is way more than Manhattan. Now, Manhattan happens to be the best city in the world, and it's extremely safe. At any given time, you could be walking down the streets of Manhattan at 3 a.m. and feel totally safe. That's Manhattan. Now, there's some other parts of New York. I agree. When the sun goes down, maybe you shouldn't be in town. But the rest of the state, we have beautiful mountains. Where I live, it's beautiful mountains. The Adirondack Mountains. We got lakes and streams and rivers. We got beautiful beaches out in Montauk, Long Island. White sand beaches. Got the Niagara Falls, biggest falls. I think it's the biggest fall. I should be doing an I Love New York commercial, for God's sakes. But it's not as bad as Big Knuckle is making it out to be. But it is true that I agree that Robert the Ghost Guerrero, it was a stupid thing. He says Floyd only picked Robert the Ghost Guerrero because he can't punch and he's not smart. This guy has never knocked out a guy over 135 pounds. We're going to have to wait and see how the fight goes. Floyd is no dummy. He obviously feels comfortable with Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Robert the Ghost Guerrero is not showing much intelligence by doing what he did recently, but he didn't know. That's basically it. And his failure to look into the gun. First of all, my whole point about that is, why do you bring a gun? If you're traveling, why do you even bring the gun? The answer is going to be, well, for protection. I was here with my wife. I was here with my kids. I didn't want to, I heard all these bad things about New York. I wanted to protect them. But the bottom line is, it wasn't like they were going to go strolling down the streets of the Bronx at midnight, you know. So, I mean, everything that they saw in New York was nothing but great. You know, being driven from one place to another with a limo. I bet you they didn't enter a building without a doorman. You know, so, I mean, come on, man. Come on. You know, stupid. There's no other way to define it. There's nothing that he can say or do that's going to make it justifiable. I'm sorry. You know, so I agree. He deserves to take all the slack he's getting. My man Marcus Ottavio says, what's wrong with the cruiserweights in general? He says, no unified champs, and all of them seem to be kind of average anyway. The only cruiserweight champ I know is Huck, and that's only because of his win over Povetkin in a heavyweight fight. I agree with him. I thought that he obviously didn't get the win on paper, but I agree. I thought he did beat Povetkin. You know, the cruiserweight division is a lot better than people think. Here in the States, it's not as popular. But over in Europe, it is. And here's the thing. If you look at the cruiserweight division, Marcus, and you think about the fighters themselves, you're looking at a 200-pound weight limit. Generally, I'm not going to say all the time, but generally, the guys are in good shape. You know, they weigh in at 199. Fight night, they're probably 205, 210, whatever. And what you're looking at, really, is yesteryear's heavyweights. Think about it. Rocky Marciano never weighed more than 190 pounds, ever. You know, Jack Dempsey never weighed more than 190 pounds, ever. You know, a lot of heavyweight. Even Jack Johnson, who was considered big, only weighed 210, 215, you know, in his prime. So, I mean, realistically, it could be a very exciting division. Now, why do fighters like Eddie Chambers and even David Hay move up to the heavyweight division? Well, because they make more money. You know, so they're kind of forced out of the division. Look at Latif Coyote. You know, here's a guy that didn't even master the cruiserweight division, and he's already moving up to heavyweight. Yeah, so you know, that's why. So I think if we were a little more receptive to it here in the States, I think that we would the pool of cruiserweights would get bigger and ultimately better, and I think the end result would be a much more exciting weight class. So I like the cruiserweight division. I love the cruiserweight division. I love the cruiserweight division. He says, Johan Pablo who? Well, I know. I mean, and that's the problem with Johan Pablo Hernandez. I mean, the thing is that he doesn't fight enough, you know. And we don't even know how old he really is, you know. But between him and the other guy who's fighting soon, he's fighting on that Russian card. We'll see. We'll see. The other guy, and I'm falling into Guillermo Jones is who I was thinking. But anyway, he says, you know your division. he's still hitting on the cruiserweight division. He says, you know your division is bad when Roy Jones Jr., James Toney, and Antonio Tarver's names are still in the mix as possible opponents. Can't deny that one. He's backing up his theory with some facts here. He says, I'm surprised someone doesn't defend their belt against Carlos De Leon, Al Ice Cole, or Dwight Muhammad Quai at this point. You know, you could say that about every division. Come on, stop picking on the cruiserweights, Marcus. You know, you could say that about every division today. You know, it's pretty sad. You know, and the reason it's sad is because it's diluted. It's not like we don't have these talented fighters in all weight classes, because we do. It's just that it's diluted. So, you know, depending upon which sanctioning body you're supporting, you know, which promoter you're working with or whatever, it's going to dictate, you know, who's the top 10, who's the you know, mandatories and all of this stuff. And I think that adds to some of the frustration you're obviously showing here. But anyway, he says, now here, he's naming one that I think is a real fraud. He says, BJ Flores' skills are like a Bigfoot. He says, we've heard about it, but nobody actually has seen it. That's great. I'm going to use that one, Marcus. I'm gonna steal that. I'm going to be a Milton Berle. Now, obviously, a lot of you young guys don't know what that means, but I'm definitely going to use that line. B.J. Flores' skills are like Bigfoot. We've heard about him, but nobody's really seen it. He says he fought 2 known guys, and one of them was Danny Green, who beat Flores by decision. I have never seen a Flores fight on TV. Had to look it up on YouTube. Not a good sign, especially if you claim to be the best. He is the most nerve-wracking guy as a fighter. I like him as a commentator. He does a great job. But as a fighter, that's exactly... Marcus, I couldn't agree with you more. He claims he's the best and everything else. He did fight Darnell Wilson. Not Darnell Wilson. The Dingaling man. Was it Darnell Wilson? Yeah, Darnell Wilson. He fought. I was thinking of another guy. It was Darnell Wilson was the Dingaling man, I think. Cruiserweight that moved up to heavyweight, and he beat him, but he got robbed because I thought the Dingaling man won. His fight against Danny Green. Actually, I thought that fight could have went either way, but Danny Green. I mean, no disrespect to Danny, but he's seen some better days too. But I agree with you 100% about B.J. Flores. You look on his resume; he's fought no one with a capital N, with the exception of his loss to Danny Green and that questionable fight against the Dingaling man. I agree with you 100%. And Marcus Octavio says, authority in New York are jerks. That ain't news, Billy C. You and I both know you can't even get some nice gabagool, the way he spelled it. It's gabagool, and the way he spells it. You actually spelled it the way you say it, which is good. He says, without a cop telling you how to walk or whatever, Robert Guerrero surprises me because he is rather smart, or seems like he is anyway. I hope everything works out for the guy. It was a stupid thing. I mean, we could beat this to death, but the bottom line is this. Robert the Goat Guerrero did a very stupid thing. What did he do? He basically, because the laws are different from state to state on guns, he brought his gun into New York. So obviously he flew into New York with the gun. He checked the gun, which I guess is routine from wherever he left, whether he left Vegas or he left California where he lives. And, as long as you go up and he showed that he had no ammunition, that the gun was, empty, it was locked in separate cases, whatever the case was. And he checked it onto the plane, and he got off, had the gun with him in New York while he was doing the secret press conferences. And then when he went to get back on the plane to go home, he thought he could do the same exact thing. And he went up to the Delta ticket counter and attempted to check his gun. And that's when all the sirens and bells and whistles went off, and he was arrested. So, in New York, you can't have an unregistered gun. And in order to be registered, you got to have a license. You got to have a gun permit in New York. And he did not have one. And generally, that's a mandatory. It used to be a mandatory year. I think Bloomberg changed it to 2. All you got to do is look at Plexico Burress, former New York Giants, Super Bowl receiver, star, all of this stuff. He's out there hooting it up in a bar in New York City one night, and whatever happened, whether he was a bumping and a grinding too much, he had the gun on his leg and it went off. He shot himself in the leg like a total idiot. And, it turns out that the gun wasn't registered, and he did 18 months. So it's the laws in New York. I just don't understand why he brought it. I really don't. It makes no sense. Hey, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we're going to talk about another great fight this weekend. We knew it was going to happen, and it did. Bam Bam Rios, Mike Alvarado 2. What happened? We'll talk about it in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I would
think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy,
what?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask you.
Wrong speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
Thanks, Hope. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show on Fight Now TV. I want to welcome the Fight Now audience just join us like they do every day. And if you don't have the Fight Now channel on your sports channel lineup, I'm talking TV, not radio. I'm talking TV, man. If you don't have the Fight Now channel, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel right now. Tell them that you want more Billy C, too. All the information about the channel, you can find it on their website, www.fightnow.com. You know, I got my man Hanging Fire in the chat room, and he makes a good point. First, you know, he says, I thought that Robert Douglas Guerrero was, a religious guy. He's always, promoting his Christian faith and stuff, which is great. But, if that's the case, why are you carrying a gun? And not only that, but why are you traveling with it? And then he asked me a really good question. And like he says, why he needs a gun. I mean, that's my big hang-up, the bottom line is, why? Even if you carry a gun, if where he lives in California is dangerous or he feels he needs it for protection, or whatever his reason for carrying it, I don't have anything against people having guns legally or anything if they want to have them, and as long as they follow the rules, I'm okay. It's the same thing with hunting. I fish. I like to fish. I don't hunt. But I'm not against people who do, as long as they do it legally, And I feel the same way about guns. If you register your gun, you do everything you're supposed to do to have one. You should. You should be able to anyway. But with that said, I mean, when do you draw the line? You're going to travel. I mean, you bring the gun with you. I mean, I know this. If I felt that I was in danger. And I felt that I had to arm myself to go to a specific place, you know what? I wouldn't go, to be honest with you. If he was that afraid that something was going to happen to him, in New York, which is ridiculous. I wouldn't have even gone, but that's me. That's me. But Hanging Fire asks a really good question. He says, do I think that he will actually do time? New York really had made the gun laws extremely tough, and they were trying to, make a statement. And what they love the most, besides, degrading people and stuff like that, what they love the most is setting an example. And, they don't care who you are. And I think Plexico Burress was a great example of that. And, here he is, a beloved, I'm a Jets fan in New York. I'm from Long Island, so I like all the other teams. I like the Jets, I like the Mets, I like the Nets, I like the Islanders, and then the Manhattan people usually, at least in my era, they were the Giants fans, they were the Yankees fans and stuff like that. And, despite all of the outcry because he was a Giant, I'm talking about Plexico, it didn't save his ass. He went to jail. Now his gun was loaded and it went off and it shot himself. In this particular case, Robert Ghost Guerrero didn't have a loaded gun, and it wasn't like they found it on him. It's not like he went through the metal detector and it went off and he had a gun on him. He brought it to the counter, and said, "Here, I need to check this." He figured that they would check it and put it in wherever they put checked guns, with the cowboy hats and stuff. And, I don't know what he was thinking, man. That's the whole thing that is just crazy. But anyway, hey, if you missed it earlier, we got a new link on the website that I hope you check out. Take a minute and check it out. There's going to be a movie coming out. It's called The Wilderness. And they're putting all their ducks in a row. They're going to shoot a short version, and I believe a short film was already shot. But anyway, it's a story of an Olympian from London, and he fought in the early 1900s, and it's a really cool story. Do me a favor, check out the link, man. You can't miss it. It's right on the webpage, www.billycboxing.com. They set up a Kickstart program to help get this thing going, and it tells you about the beautiful writer and director and everything, who's an actress, a former actress, and about the project and who's going to be involved in it and stuff like that. So check it out, man, because I think you're going to be interested in it, and I think it's worthwhile. It's worth the click. So check it out, and it's going to be something that I'm going to support. And not only that, I'm hoping to weasel myself onto the set and maybe get a spot in the movie. So check it out. And all your help makes a difference. So this weekend we got treated to another good one. I think everybody that is a boxing fan, and actually, whether you saw the first one or not, but everyone that saw the first one, or even before they even threw a first punch in the first fight, we all knew it was going to be a great fight. Well, very often when you get the rematch and everybody thinks it's going to pick up where it left off, it never happens. But, man, this fight definitely picked up where it left off. This time, after 12 rounds, it went the distance. We saw both fighters get rocked in this fight, clearly. Bam Bam Rios was hurt a couple of times. Mike Alvarado seems to be able to take these flush bomb uppercuts with no problem, but nail him square in the face with a jab, and he went staggering back. I loved it. You talk about the argument, the sweet science and everything else, and this is the thing. Sweet science is great, and I think that when you watch the fight, like a good example was the co-main event, Breedis Prescott going up against Terrence Crawford, where you saw Crawford display the science, and he was able to dictate the fight and everything else. But what would you rather watch, that or Rios-Alvarado? Listen, to me, it's a no-brainer. Rios-Alvarado, yes, those two men are going to pay the price, if not this week from bumps and bruises and who knows what. But down the road, it's what they signed up for. They're both aware of it. They both were brought to the hospital after the fight to get checked out. But, man, was it a good fight. Here's what I noticed. In case you missed it, Mike Alvarado evened the score with a unanimous decision. The three judges ringside, two of them had it 115-113, and the third saw it at 114-113. I think that they got it right. I think that although I picked Bam Bam Rios, I had talked to Tony Treem, who covered the fight ringside. Speaking of ringside, we were all over the United States this week. I covered the fights up at Turning Stone. Tony covered the fights in Vegas. Austin covered the fights in New Mexico on 2 nights. He actually did back-to-back nights on Friday and Saturday. You can check out all of our coverage up on BillyCBoxing.com. And in case you want to check out where we've been so far this year, we have a section on the left-hand side of the website called Fight Coverage. And if you click that, you'll see all of the ringside stuff. We've been all over, and we like to post our stuff up there and keep it there. But the bottom line is it was a great fight, and what I noticed was that Alvarado fought a smart fight. He did try to use his boxing ability, which he clearly has, but he did mix it up enough to keep it really entertaining. As far as Bam Bam Rios goes, I love the way he delivers punches. I know he's a little arrogant and stuff like that, but I like Bam Bam Rios. But here's something that they must improve with him, and Alvarado as well. They don't do any defense. Now I think it was Max was making a good point. The only defense that both of these guys appear to know is to deflect punches or roll with a punch. That's it. Bam Bam Rios uses his gloves to deflect punches. That's his defense. Same thing with Mike Alvarado. Mike tries to roll a little more than Bam Bam Rios does, but for the most part, they're using their gloves and their arms and, roll with a punch a little bit. Neither one of them moved their head. The old rope trick, the drill where they string the rope across the ring, diagonally across the ring, and have you, go up and down, back and forth. Listen, Garcia is a great trainer, but he needs to work on some defense with Rios. Otherwise, this kid, and we all knew this when we saw him come out a couple of years ago. We all knew that his career wasn't going to be wasn't going to be lasting long. At least it shouldn't, because the guy is going to be in some trouble if that happens. But nonetheless, there was an interim belt on the line. And now Mike Alvarado is the owner of the WBO interim junior welterweight title. Great fight. Loved every minute of it. I loved the post-fight conference even more. Bob Arum, because both fighters had to go to the hospital, Bob Arum addressed the media, and that's always interesting. A couple of quotes from him on the most relevant topics. Everybody was talking about a third fight already. As a matter of fact, Michael Buffer announced that it's time for the rubber match before he even gave the announcement. They asked Bob Arum, what's next for these guys? He said, my first inclination was that they should fight each other again, but fight another fight first. No tune-up fights, a real fight, because these fights were classic that they had. You don't have to do it right away. You could wait. They could each fight somebody and earn some great money. They're both big stars now. Nobody lost tonight. Eventually, one thing you know, as much as you know the sun's coming up tomorrow morning, that they will fight again. That being said, when they fight again, interim fights and so forth will be deciding that. So basically, in a nutshell, what he's saying is that let's milk it a little bit. Let's marinate this third one a little bit. Let's give these guys each another fight. It's not going to be a layup fight, but let's give them each another fight. And even if they lose the fight, because remember, he was talking about a tournament of sorts, which would feature Juan Manuel Marquez, Manny Pacquiao, Bam Bam Rios, and Timothy Bradley. Those were the four names mentioned to fight each other, and then the winner of the two fights fight each other. They can conceivably have those two fights and then fight each other. A third Rios-Alvarado fight is not something that will expire. It does have a shelf life. The next question they asked is even more interesting because they said, what about putting the third fight in Denver, which is the hometown of Mike Alvarado? And you wonder, has he earned to have the home field advantage, so to speak? It was certainly a home crowd. If you read Tony Treem's report, he said it was certainly a Rios crowd in Vegas on Saturday night. He says we've had, and this is Bob Arum talking. He says we've had experience in Denver. We had Stevie Johnston in Denver, and he did a tremendous job with the gate. He said one thing Denver has that most cities don't is they have loads of really first-class arenas. The Magnus Center, I remember, the Pepsi Center, and they have more now. So it's not going to be difficult to get a venue in Denver, and certainly it's a possibility, he said, and that very well may be one of the motivating factors in having them each fight other opponents, because Mike told me that his dream was to defend the title back in Denver. Here's the thing. The only thing that would prevent it from going to Denver is if a casino throws up some money and gives them a site fee. Then they're not going to go to Denver. Because most of those places, unless your name is Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys, most people aren't going to pay to have it at the venue. These venues want you to pay them. So, unless some businessmen ante up for Alvarado. Mile high, Mike. So, I don't know. But we know that there's going to be a third fight. We just don't know when. When they asked him specifically about the second round of Alvarado Rios, he said the second round, in truth, was the best round I've ever seen since the first round of Hagler-Hearns. And if you've never seen the Hagler-Hearns fight, it's 3 rounds of action. It was actually the best fight I've ever seen live. So at least in my opinion. I've never seen a fight with that much action and only lasted 3 rounds, and I walked away saying, wow, that was the best fight I ever saw. But we could argue that Rios-Alvarado 1, Rios-Alvarado 2, it seems like one whole fight, and the third one's going to be the same, So he says it was a better round than either of the 2 rounds of Timmy's fight, which he's referring to Tim Bradley and Ruslan Prudognikov, because those were more one-sided rounds. Prudognikov clearly won both of those rounds, but this second round was a classic. Another fight more recent was one of the Morales-Barrera fights, had a round that went like that, but this has to be maybe, with Hagler-Hearns' first round, the best round I've ever seen. That's Bob Arum's opinion. Speaking of Prudognikov, he was at the fights I covered on Friday night, and he was introduced to the fans. He got a standing ovation. Guy looks great, man. He doesn't even look like he was in a fight. I got to meet him later on, and it's kind of funny. I got to meet him later on that night by myself. I saw him in the arena. I shook his hand in the arena. I was talking to Mickey Ward, and actually I was talking to Ed Brophy, who's with the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I was asking how things were going. He says it's going to go great. It's going to be a great one, blah, blah, blah. And I saw Prudognikov, shook his hand. Then later on that night, or should I say early the next morning, I was walking, I was actually done at the craps table, and I was walking back, and I ran right into Ruslan Prudognikov, and I had, I'll admit, I had a couple of Johnny Walker Blacks in me, and I said, hey, how you doing? I'm Billy C. I do a show. I had my shirt on, and I give him a card, and he's standing there nodding, and I'm going on, and I'm telling him, I'd love to have you on the show, blah, 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 this and that, and if I finally realized, like, after, all I got out of him was a nod or two, he doesn't understand a word of English, man. Not one. Like, not even close, And he was so nice, just standing there, and he's like kind of looking at me. I was like the Charlie Brown teacher, wah 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 wah, and he's like, huh, what? No, but anyway, I give him a lot of credit, and I was glad to see him. He's not a very big guy, but man, he's got a muscular handshake, which I always admire. I like a person that's got a manly handshake, even women, they shake your hand. You're expecting this soft handshake, and they're like, next thing you're locked together. But anyway, they asked Bob Arum, back to the press conference. They asked Bob Arum on his recent streak of great fights. He says fans want to see action. They want to see exciting fights. That's what the fans want. Now, some people involved in boxing, don't you love it when they kind of give jabs at each other? And here's where Bob Arum starts to take the focus of his press conference and turn it to his competition. He says that's what the fans want. Now, some people involved in boxing want to sign fighters and have them fight tomato cans and have the networks pay to show those fights, and it goes on and on and on. He says that's not what the fans want. The fans want Bradley Podognikov. He says Lou DiBella is going to be doing a fight a little later this year with Triple G going up against Matthew Macklin. He says, now I'm a promoter. I love boxing. That's a fight I'd pay to see. He says, that's going to be a hell of a fight. So I think that's not only us at Top Rank. I think the other promoters who don't have a contract with a particular network, hint, hint, also have that type of mentality. He says it's great news for boxing fans because we know we're going to give them competition. He says, for years we're fed a steady diet of this kid Berto with guys that nobody remembers their names that cost millions of dollars to one of the networks. And what did they get from it? He says, what did their subscribers get? The finger. He says, and some guy that used to be in the music business rapped HBO and hoodwinked the public, and now that hopefully is over. He said, except maybe at the network that gives out deals. He says, but they're second to who cares? They're second, so who cares? He says, nobody watches them anyway. Obviously, he's talking about, Showtime and the deal that they gave to Mayweather and, of course, Oscar De La Hoya. And they asked him, because apparently Oscar De La Hoya, they said Oscar De La Hoya tweeted, just before the Rios fight started, he tweeted that he canceled his HBO subscription. And they asked Bob Arum about that in the press conference, and he says Oscar is absolutely one of the brainiest guys that I've ever known, and he probably did it while he was putting on those kinds of leggings. And of course, he's talking about the pantyhose, right? He says, I really mean it. Who the hell does Oscar De La Hoya? He's a moron. So Bob Arum doing some stand-up at his press conference the other day. But anyway, the rest of the card was pretty entertaining as well. Let's see, where is the rest of the card? I wanted to give you all the results. The co-main event was, listen, I'll tell you about the co-main event. I don't ever want to see Brettis Prescott again. I mean, this guy did nothing. And I'm not taking anything away from Terrence Crawford because I thought Crawford did a fantastic job. The guy controlled the fight from the start to the end in what was supposed to be a showcase fight for Brettis Prescott. All he did was lose his cool and show that he's a one-dimensional fighter only if the fighter stands in front of him and lets him hit him. Crawford did the right thing. I mean, he was a smaller guy. Fought, talk about a steady diet of tomato cans. I mean, he never fought anybody of note, and he steps up and fights Brettis Prescott, and he looked like the champion, the up-and-coming guy that should have been getting the recognition, not Prescott. Prescott, I think if we really take a look at Brettis Prescott, he's got one fight. One fight made his whole career. He got lucky and knocked out Amir Khan, and that's it. What else has he done? I mean, listen, he's hats off to Terrence Crawford. I mean, he improved to 20-0. By the way, Mike Alvarado now is 34-1 with 23 knockouts. Bam Bam Rios loses for the first time in his career. 31 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 22 knockouts. So, back to Terrence Crawford. He's 20-0 now with 15 knockouts, 99-91, 97-93, 100-90. I agree with 100-90. I can't give Prescott one round in that fight, not one. I think Terrence Crawford won that fight from the opening bell to the closing. He got his number. He outboxed him. He beat him to the punch. He kept moving out of harm's way. I mean, listen, he seemed the veteran, not the kid. Hats off to Terrence Crawford. What a beautiful display of boxing. You know, talk about the sweet science. You know, he did everything he had to do. He engaged when he had to engage. He moved when he had to move. He jabbed when he had to jab. You know, very exciting to see a guy display the sweet science like that. But, again, a fight like Rios-Alvarado, in my opinion, was worth the price of admission. Also on that card, junior welterweight Jose Ramirez improved to 2-0 with 2 knockouts when he took care of his opponent, Charlie Dubray, 66 seconds into the first round. Charlie Dubray is now 1-1 with a knockout. In the super welterweight division, Michael Finley improved to 11-0 with 9 knockouts when he knocked out Osvaldo Rojas in the 5th round. Official time was 1:49. Rojas is now 7 wins, 3 losses, a couple of draws with 2 knockouts. In the super bantamweight division, Tremaine Williams improved to 6-0 with a couple of knockouts when he beat John Herrera over 4 rounds. Is this John Smiley Herrera from New Mexico? He's now 4-6-1 with a couple of knockouts. 40-36 was the way all 3 judges scored it. If this is John Herrera, who Austin Colleen covers all the time, if that is truly him, then we got a phone ringing here. But if that's truly him, then we will see about that. But we got to take a break anyway, so we'll be right back.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. And you're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. For all information about the channel, you can find it on the website, www.fightnow.com. It is April Fool's today, so we had a fool, obviously, trying to call the studio line, which we're not going to answer because we can't answer the lines during this show, because this show goes into syndication and is replayed. And if we open up the phone lines here, then we got people calling Chicago at 3 in the afternoon when nobody's there, nobody's here, nobody's there or here or anywhere. But that's why we do the show at 1 o'clock. But anyway, just to finish my train of thought, John Herrera is a guy that Austin Colleen happens to like, and he's pretty high on him. If it's the same guy, I got to double check, but he is very active, and I thought that Herrera had a better record, so maybe it's a different guy. But nonetheless, Tremaine Williams 6-0 now with a couple of knockouts. In the heavyweight division, Brett Rather improved to 3-0 when he even hit the canvas in the first round, but he ended up beating Juan Guajardo by 38-37 on all three scorecards in their 4-round fight. Guajardo drops to 2-1 with a knockout. In the welterweight division, Juan Hernandez 5-0 now with 4 knockouts when he beat Roberto Lopez with a 4-round decision. 40-35 was the way all 3 judges saw it. Lopez drops to 4-5-2 with a knockout. And finally, super lightweight remained unbeaten. Manuel Lopez is now 2-0 with a couple of knockouts when he stopped Jason Tresvan 2 minutes and 6 seconds of the second round as he goes to 0-2. That was the card out in Vegas. And like I said, you can check out Tony's report. It's up on BillyCBoxing.com along with it's either under the fight. It's under both places. It's right on the main page, and it's also under the fight coverage section, which is on the left. Triple G became the first guy to knock out Nobuo Ishida. It only took him 3 rounds. He improves to 26-0 with 23 knockouts. Ishida drops to 24 wins, 9 losses, and a couple of draws with 9 knockouts. The official time was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. We all knew that this was going to be a win for Triple G. The question was, could he stop Ishida? And apparently the answer is yes, he did. In the super middleweight division, remember, this was that chock full of fight card out in Monte Carlo. Edwin Rodriguez won a 10-round decision over Esquivel Oswaldo Moderna, who drops to 19-1. Both fighters were undefeated going into the fight. Edwin Lobamba Rodriguez now is 23-0 with 15 knockouts. The way the judges scored it was pretty much one-sided, 96-92 twice, and one judge had it 95-92, all in favor of Edwin Lobamba Rodriguez. And then they had the light heavyweight fight, which most people thought that Zolt Erdai would come out on top. He had never been beaten, former world champion. Dennis Grachev showed that his win over Saddam Ali was no fluke, because he won a close split decision over Zolt Erdai. The way the judges scored it, 2 had it in favor of Dennis Grachev at 96-94, and the third saw it for Zolt Erdai at the same score, 96-94. Dennis Grachev wins for the 13th time. He's now 13 wins, 1 loss, and a draw, with 8 of his W's coming by knockout. And like I mentioned, Zolt Erdai losing for the first time in his career. He's now 33-1 with 18 knockouts. 38 years old. Grachev fought exactly how he fought Saddam Ali. He started off real slow in this fight, and then came on strong. I mean, he has a tendency, his style of fighting has a tendency to make you think you got him right where you want him, and the next thing you know, he comes on strong. So congratulations to him. Now, I guess what's going to happen is those two are going to fight, Edwin Rodriguez and Dennis Grachev. So that ought to be interesting. A couple of fights, big fights, so to speak, left us hanging because they ended in draws. It was a light heavyweight elimination bout for the WBC. Tony Bellew out of England, who was fighting at home, and Isaac Chilimba, who was also undefeated going into this fight. This was a big fight for both these fighters, and, it ended in a draw. it was a back-and-forth fight. The way the judges saw it was one judge had it 116-115 in favor of the hometown guy, Tony Bellew. And then the other judge had it 116-112 in favor of the visiting guy, who is Isaac Chilimba. And then the third decided to score it even at 114-114, giving it a draw. So I don't know if what the rule is with the WBC, but should they order an immediate rematch, to me that makes the most sense. Also on that card, Anthony Million Dollar Kerala and Derry Matthews, the old man, they too fought for fought to a draw. Krolla in the lightweight division, he's now 25 wins, 4 losses, and a draw with 9 knockouts. Derry Matthews, he's 32 wins, 8 losses, and a couple of draws, and 17 knockouts. The way the judges saw that one, 115-113 for Derry Matthews, 115-113 for Million Dollar Kerala. And the third had it, you guessed it, 115-115, giving it the draw. Also in the super middleweight division, Rocky Fielding improved to 12-0 with 6 knockouts when he knocked out Wayne Reed in the 6th round, 1 minute and 19 seconds. Reed drops to 10-6. In the super bantamweight division, young prospect Jazza Dickens improved to 14-0 when he beat John Fernandez, who was also unbeaten going into the fight. He's now 10-1 with a couple of knockouts. 99-91 twice, 99-92 with the way the judges scored that one. In the super bantamweight division, Cal Yaffe improved to 8-0 with 6 knockouts when he won an 8-round decision over Michael Rambileska, who drops to 8-10. In the super middleweight division, Callum Smith improved to 5-0 with a couple of knockouts when he knocked out Lane Jackson in the 2nd round. And lightweight Scotty Cardell improved to 10-0 with a couple of knockouts when he beat Yves Messini over 4 rounds. All 3 judges had it the same, 40-37. Also on Saturday night, we had a WBF World Championship fight for the vacant featherweight crown. And despite getting tossed in a last-minute substitute, Timur Akadunov, he is now the WBF featherweight champ. He won a fight against his opponent, who was a guy that, it's going to be hard for me to pronounce his name, but Kavizina Kashavuchi. And, it was not a bad fight. The way the judges scored it, 117-111. And 2 of the judges had it 119-109, giving the Akahundov the new belt and a 15-2 record. And his opponent, Katsuyuhov, drops to 10-2. So congratulations to the new world featherweight champion for the WBF. And we had a couple of upsets, so to speak, I guess. Katsunui Takamaya improved to 25-6 and became the new IBF strawweight champion when he won a unanimous decision over Mario Rodriguez, who we had ranked at number 1. He had upset for this belt several months ago, but nonetheless he's was ranked at number 1. He's now 15-7 with 4 draws, 11 knockouts. The way the judges saw it was pretty much one-sided, except for one judge. One judge had it 117-111, one had it 119-109, and the third saw it a little closer, 115-113, all in favor of Takayama. And on the co-main in that one, Pedro Guerrero, he kind of upset Raul Garcia, who's been around for a while. Guerrero now is 19-1 with a draw with 13 knockouts. And Raul Garcia drops to 33 wins, couple of losses, and 1 draw. It was a split decision with the WBC silver junior flyweight title on the line. Now, Friday night, I was ringside for the Brian Vera Deontas Bondaris fight up at the beautiful Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. It was a Friday night fight, and I tell you right now, when I was watching that main event, the very first round, and trust me, I had a beautiful view. They really took care of me. Brett took care of me up there, and we had a beautiful view. I was right there, right ringside, and the fight started. The bell rang for the first round, and I was looking at my paper and stuff, and taking some notes, and I look up. And there's a cut already over Bondarovic's bridge of his nose. It happened in the first round. I didn't see a punch. I didn't see a headbutt. It almost looked like he walked into the fight with a cut. I'm like, the person next to me said, well, what was there, a fight in the dressing room or what? It was already red and everything. And by the end of the first round, it was bleeding. Well, that cut bled for the whole fight, and it got worse and worse and worse. But add to it that Bondarovic ended up getting a cut over his eye that bled like a stuck pig, and 2 in his mouth. One was inside his mouth, and one was on his lip. So there was blood flowing everywhere. There was blood all over him, blood all over Brian Vera, blood all over us, blood all over everybody. It was a blood bath. But as far as the fight goes, Brian Vera, who I like, who's generally a fighter who's in good shape all the time and puts on a good show. He was smiling and laughing and giving the indication that Bondarovic wasn't hurting him at all. But, there was a couple of body shots that really stunned Brian Vera. You could hear it, and then his whole action stopped. Like, he just changed the way he was moving around. It was a really hard fight to score because both had their moments. I think it's hard to not give the nod to Brian Vera, especially when there was so much blood flowing from Bondarovic. But it was a close fight, and after that 7th round, you had this feeling, like there was this feeling that was coming alive with everybody that was there, and the crowd was pretty. There was a pretty decent crowd there. That this fight was going to really start getting interesting. It was scheduled for 12, and it was back and forth up to this point at the end of the 7th round. And then the weird thing happened. Charlie Fitch was the referee. He went to the corner. They already had the doctor inspect Bondarovic in that fight. He had given him the okay a couple of rounds earlier. And I guess they called him up to the corner. They had him looking at the cuts, and I think, now there's been other stories, and by the time the press conference came, there's been other versions and everything else, but what happened, what I heard Charlie Fitch say to the officials and to ESPN, and I don't know if they, told that to the listeners or not, but he said that Bondarovic, when they asked if he wanted them to stop the fight, he said yes. And that's why the fight was waved off. Now, initially, when he waved off the fight, it was waved off so subtly that nobody really noticed it. The other corner kept working on Brian Vera, and then chaos broke out because now they he said, no, I didn't mean I wanted to stop. I meant no, don't stop. It's like, it's the old stop. Stop, don't stop. But the bottom line is they stopped the fight, and Brian Vera retained his belt. Now, the thing that I found the most amusing was Bobby Hitz, who's a promoter out of Chicago, and our very own Blakely Berger covers fights at his fights in the Midwest. And he was a former heavyweight fighter himself, and he does very well as a promoter. And he jumps up onto the apron and starts flipping out. And at the end of it, he orders a rematch. He says, Charlie Fitch stopped the fight prematurely, and many observers feel that Dantas was robbed. He says, I concur. I'm so proud of Dantas and his effort that he put forth. I like Brian Vera, and I respect him as a fighter, but I feel we were winning, and according to my team, it was the language barrier which caused the stoppage, which is unfortunate. He says, while the judges had Vera up in the fight when it was stopped, I disagreed, and I'm confident that had they been allowed to continue, Dantas would have been victorious. Obviously, we want a rematch. Dantas deserves a rematch, and the fans, many of whom were impressed with his Friday night fight debut, deserve a rematch. We need to make it happen. Maybe so. I think Brian Vera might be in line for bigger and better things, but he didn't look all that sharp. Now if that was Bondavis or not, I don't know. But what I do know is that it was an entertaining fight back and forth. No one did a lot, but no one did nothing either. It was an entertaining fight. It was a great, you should have been there live fight. I have no idea what it looked like on television. I was ringside. But nonetheless, Brian Vera retains his belt. He improves to 23 wins, 6 losses with 14 knockouts. And Dontras drops to 16-4-1 with 5 knockouts. I'm surprised he only has 5 knockouts because he's definitely displayed some pop, especially body work. I'll tell you the fight that was the most disappointing at all. It was the co-main event. We had Jackson Jr. dos Santos going up against Humberto Savin. Now, Savin was one of these Cuban fighters. He had he's with Equinity Sports, which Mickey Ward was working his corner. And both of these fighters were no spring chickens. But when I looked at the two fighters, I saw a harder, pedigree, a tougher, lines of fights for Dos Santos Jr. Jackson or Jackson Jr. What I saw live was that Humberto Savin was twice the size of Junior Jackson, Jackson Jr. And he gained almost 17 pounds between the weigh-in and the night of the fight. And man, did he look it! It looked like a heavyweight in there with a middleweight. And the thing that I was kind of confused with was that every time Savin hurt Jackson Jr., it was almost like a delayed reaction. Like he would nail him with a shot, and Jackson Jr. would do something else, and then all of a sudden it would like catch up with him, and he would get in trouble. He knocked him down several times throughout the fight, and then when they finally stopped it, he went down 3 times in one round, and it was officially waved off at 2 minutes and 17 seconds of round 4, giving Savin the win. He's now 11-1 with 8 knockouts, and Jackson Jr. dos Santos, who I feel was a totally overrated fighter, and I hope I never see him again. He drops the first fight of his career. He's now 14-1. I know that sounds harsh, but he was definitely outclassed by a guy that didn't really do much except put on a dance at the end of the fight. But I tell you who was kind of impressive was Taras Shekelstuk, who was an Ukrainian Olympian. He made his pro debut against another pro debuter out of New York, Kamal Muhammad, and a couple of body shots. First body shot sent Muhammad down. Second body shot sent him out. Muhammad drops to 0-1, and the former Ukrainian Olympian, he improves to 1-0 with a knockout. Evangely Chapakurov, who just signed with Banner, who was a promoter for this show, he was in a 4-round fight, and he won a 4-round decision. He improves to 5-0 with a couple of knockouts. Micah Branch was his opponent, who drops to 1-4-1. All 3 judges saw it the same at 40-36. In a fight that, I got to be honest with you. This was the fight that I thought that the judges got wrong. Lavris Williams and Calvert Pritchard fought to a majority draw. One judge had it 39-37 in favor of Williams. The other 2 saw it even at 38-38. Williams is now 1-0 with a knockout and a draw, and Pritchard is 2-6-3. Now, I will tell you this. Pritchard looked a lot better for what you would expect from a 2-6 fighter. But I thought that Williams did just enough to win the fight. I kind of agree with the one judge who scored the fight 39-37. I believe that he should have gotten the nod in this, but hey, I didn't have a scorecard. And there was a middleweight fight that was also I was questioning the decision. Antoine Douglas improved to 5-0 with 3 knockouts when he beat John Worthy. This is where I think sometimes your record kind of gives you a couple of negatives. John Worthy drops to 3 wins, 6 losses with only 1 knockout. The 3 judges scored the fight 40-36. Do I think Antoine Douglas won the fight? Yeah, but I don't think it was 40-36. I think I could have seen this fight being a draw, to be honest with you. It was a pretty close event, pretty close contest. But there was another fight on this card, and I wanted to give a couple extra minutes with this one. It was a light heavyweight fight. Now, Ryan McKenzie is a local product from northern New York, or I should say western New York. He's from Canastota, the same place that the Hall of Fame is at, and, of course, Carmen Basilio is at. He's trained by a great guy. I love Ray Rinaldi. He's known up there in upstate western New York, whatever they call it. He's been in the business for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, if you looked at he helped me out when I was promoting a lot. But if you looked at this guy, you would think he's probably in his 60s. Well, he's 84 years old, and he trains this guy and everything else. He's still in the ring. He still does the pads. He's a great guy. I love Ray Rinaldi. Give a shout out to him and everybody else from Syracuse that knows and loves him. But now let's talk about his fighter, Ryan McKenzie, who I think, I mean, all I heard about was Ryan McKenzie. And what I saw was a guy in great shape, tall, but this guy is nothing like what I expected. This was the first time I've seen him fight live. He improved to 14-0 with 11 knockouts. Now, who's he been fighting? Exact guys like who he fought. And the guy's name was Steven Tyner, who drops to 3 wins, 10 losses, and 2 draws. The way the judges scored it were all the same, 60-54. Even that, I don't think was the case. I think Tyner won a couple of those rounds. He stunned McKenzie twice in that fight. McKenzie ran out of gas. He was, dropping his hands. His hands were not up. I mean, there's just a lot of flaws in this guy. And, it just goes to what I say all the time. You don't get better when you're being hand-fed these stiffs. I don't see this guy going anywhere. I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic or anything. I know we got affiliates in Rochester and Syracuse, and I know that I'm probably pissing off some fight fans right now. But, the bottom line is, he needs something, like maybe keep his hands up. Maybe he needs to fight tougher fights. I don't know. But he struggled with this guy, and I'm not taking anything away from Steven Tyner, but he shouldn't have struggled with him. A 3-10 guy or a 3-9-2 going into the fight. They put him in with him so he could knock him out in front of his hometown, and he couldn't do it. Austin Colleen was in Albuquerque on Friday. He was also there on Saturday. I don't have the results from him on that one, but the Josh Pitbull Torres was in the main event and fought a young fighter who was undefeated, a 2-0 fighter in Jose Sanchez. And the official time was 2 minutes and 1 second when Josh Pitbull Torres stopped him. But from what he says is Jose Sanchez was an extremely live underdog. He drops to 2-1 with a knockout, and Josh Torres now is 11-2 with 5 knockouts. Also on that card, the co-main event featured a kid that was just signed by Fresquez Promotions, Matthew Baca. And Baca went in there as a big favorite, but he was fighting another undefeated fighter. Both of them were 2-0 going into this fight, named Yordan Hernandez. And Austin told me, I talked to him on the phone, he says, I went to every gym, and I asked all the trainers about this fight because it featured, crosstown rivals. And every trainer I talked to said Yordan Hernandez is going to win the fight. And every trainer he talked to was right. Because at the end, it was 59-55, 60-54, and 60-56, all in favor of Yordan Hernandez, who improves to 3-0 with a knockout. And Matthew Baca, he drops his first loss of his career. He's now 2-1 with a couple of knockouts. Another hometown girl, who actually is from Las Vegas, New Mexico, not Albuquerque, but she fights a lot in Albuquerque. Amanda Crespin, she went up against Naomi Dennison. Now, going into the fight, Amanda Cressman was 7-4-1, and Dennison was 4-2-2. Was a very good fight, back and forth, and in the end, the girl who actually lives in Albuquerque, but wasn't the one everyone was cheering about, won, and that was Dennison. She improves to 5-2 with a couple of draws. The way the judges scored it, 59-55 and 60-56, and one judge had it even at 57-57. Amanda Cressman loses for the fifth time. She's now 7-5-1. Jason Sanchez improved to 2-0 with a knockout when he took care of Sonatu Hogue, who drops to 0-2. Body shots ended that one. I'm sorry. That fight, he went down a couple of times, but he ended up staying on his feet. But Jason Sanchez won the unanimous decision, 40-35. So great night in Albuquerque Friday night. Some other Friday night fights I wanted to get some results of real quick. From Thailand, super flyweight Olidong Sithasamachai improved to 47 wins and 1 loss over Richard Garcia. He drops to 24-15. It was a defense of his international belt. And Wang Hang Methothin improved to 27-0 with a 6-round unanimous decision over Sammy Hagler, who drops to 15-14. That took place in Thailand. And another WBF fight was on the line, title was on the line, Intercontinental belt. Joseph Smokey Halangwa was a guy that came out and put on a show. And they're talking about this as a contender for a fight of the year. He improves to 12-0 with his fight and win over Sabuso Tawani of South Africa. Tawani now is 7-3-1, and like I said, Hakinoda is now 12-0. So I'm sorry, Hilawanga is now 12-0. So great fight there. So we'll see what happens. 115, 113, 116, 112, and 118, 110 were the way the judges scored that one. So we had some decent fights this weekend. This past weekend. And we got some other ones coming up. Now, speaking of coming up, there was a change last minute on Friday Night Fights. Now, Jonathan Maciello and Rustam Nugov are the new main event for this weekend's Friday Night Fights. Marvin Quintano and Amit Diaz were supposed to, but Marvin Quintano had to pull out. So the co-main event moved up. I believe it moved up to the main event. I think this fight was already on the card. Maciello is 19-0 with 11 knockouts, and the Russian Rustam Nugaviv is 22-6. They're fighting at a catchweight. Don't you hate those catchweights? But anyway, that's what's taking place this week on Friday Night Fights. It will be part of our challenge. I got some more news to talk about, some stuff that's scheduled. Don King is in the news. Kendall Holt, I want to read you his statement, which, these guys, they all say the same thing. It's like, read my lips, I did not take steroids. And then here's your blood test. It looks like you took steroids. But all of that's going to come up in about 2 minutes. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got a Don King statement. I got a Kendall Holt statement. I got some fights on the line that were announced. We got some early mention of what we're going to be doing for this week's fights. I got some reminders of what's going on with us coming up this week and next weekend. All of that is coming up in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Maybe Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing
with Billy C.
In the real world, life has its shares of trials and tribulations, but you don't have to face them alone. This is Patricia Campanaro of Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you are facing emotionally difficult family legal issues from divorce to child custody, reach out to the team that will dedicate themselves to fighting for you. The team of Campanaro and Tomkovich. With almost 30 years of experience handling divorce, child custody, legal guardianship, visitation, and other legal issues dealing with family concerns, we can help you resolve the problems you are facing with professionalism and care. Our supportive staff is always ready to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have. To find out more about Campanaro and Tomkovich, visit us at duchessnylaw.com or call us and speak to a member of our attentive staff at 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Don't be surprised at court with inexperienced representation. At Campanaro and Tomkovich, we have been helping our clients get the justice they deserve for almost 30 years, and we could do the same for you.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the number 1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway. Up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette. He's just a buttonette. Coming at you on the count of 1.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. Show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. And if you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call whoever you're paying your TV bill to, whether it's satellite dish or cable, and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple, man. All the information about the channel can be found on their website, www.fightnow.com. Speaking of websites, check out our website. First of all, remember I was telling you about Torsten Kansmeyer. He's the guy that helped Robert Stiglitz win the world super middleweight title from Arthur Abraham. He's got a link to his website up there, so check it out. But there's also something I want you to check out. And it's pretty cool. It's a movie that's coming out, and they want to get you guys involved. So being as a boxing fan, you can get your name in the credits if you help them out with the Kickstart program. All the information about the movie, the project, and the gorgeous director and writer of this. I mean, God, I hope she's single. But check it out, www.billycboxing.com. And you will be able to click on the Wilderness fight poster, which you can't miss. It's right on the right-hand side, and that'll take you to their demo and all of that stuff. It's a great story, and I think you're going to want to be part of it. So check it out and do that as quickly as you can. Also, if you're just tuning in late, don't forget we're going to be broadcasting some great shows beginning Saturday from Miami, and then following next week from Fernandina Beach, the return of Sal Senecola. 25 years. He's setting a Guinness Book of Record. He's setting a boxing record. You got to be there. There's tickets available for both shows. Check out the website, www.billycboxing.com, and click the fight posters. Buy yourself some tickets. If you're not in the area, or if you're not going to be in the area, make sure you tune in to me calling the action. That's right. I'm going to be calling the action on both of them. And you can check it out live for free, the way webcast should be, www.ldl.tv. That's a triple run. Angelo Lacrobla Santana Banana is taking on Carlos Cardenas for the WBA interim lightweight world title, or interim championship, whatever. April 12th. It's going to be on Showtime. And it's coming at you from Miami. I'm just speaking about Miami. It's coming at you from Miami. And the promoter is Don King. You remember Bernard Hopkins said Don King is finished. He's done. He's over. It's finished. Kaput. Bye-bye, Don. And he was taking all the credit for putting Don out of business. Well, Don has since announced not one but two fights he's promoting. So So much for that. And speaking of Don King, he had a lawsuit with the Florida Supreme Court. You could check it out. We actually, it was released in the Miami Herald on Friday. We actually put the link up on our website. If you go up to BillyCBoxing.com, under the latest boxing news section, you will see his statement about this. Basically said, this is the greatest nation in the world. The Miami headline says it all, and the headline said Florida Supreme Court sides with Don King on the appeal. Basically what this was that the Florida Supreme Court ruled 6-1 that oral agreements modifying written contracts for a real estate sale are invalid, which I agree with. I mean, it had to waste all the taxpayers' money to go to the Supreme Court in Florida. I mean, is it because Don King's name was attached to it? The bottom line is, if you're going to do a contract, and I love this statement, he says the ambiguity and confusion has been removed. He said, no more he said, I said, or I believe this one. He says, but I don't believe that one. He says, if it's important enough to agree to something verbally, then it's important enough to write it down. And in today's world, I couldn't agree with Don more. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm always agreeing with Don King, because I'm certainly not. But, I mean, when it comes to that, you know how they're always, come on, you watch Judge Judy. Well, do you have any? When she's, being a real bitch, you got any contract, you got to pay, you got this, you got that. And no, then get out of here. You got nothing. And all these people are like trying to say, oh, well, no, that's not what they said. They told me this and he told me that. And then the other guy can say, no, I told him this. They always say it's three sides to every story, right? Her side, his side, and the truth, So, you write it down. But congratulations to Don. And, of course, he, every chance he gets, he's forever the promoter. He says, God bless America and God bless the Florida Supreme Court. And God bless my fantastic lawyers, Alvin Davis and Tom Egan of Squires. And he gives them a plug, But anyway, former WBO featherweight champion Scott Harrison is going to be taking on Liam Walsh for the WBO European lightweight belt. That's taking place April 20th. It's going to be... I believe it's on the undercard of the Nathan Cleverly, Robin Krasnicki card. That's going to be taking place at the Wembley Arena. We'll see what happens there. Scott Harrison was the guy who did some time in the Slammer. He's 35 years old, and he's been out, fought a couple of times, and Liam Walsh is 26 years old, unbeaten fighter that there's a lot of fanfare about him. He's 13-0 with 10 knockouts, and I think this might be a good gauge for him and a good gauge for Scott Harrison to see where he's at this point. So April 20th is when that showdown's going to happen. Now, last week we all heard, and first it busted onto the news that Lamont Peterson tested positive for steroids again. And, I saw a bunch of stuff on Twitter and Facebook. People basically, I can't believe it. He's a jerk. He's a clown. He's this, he's that, and he's the other thing. And then it got clarified that, no, it wasn't Lamont Peterson's post-fight test. It was Kendall Holt's. Now, this was following Lamont Peterson's victory over Kendall Holt in his first fight in a long time. And everybody was kind of shocked, Kendall Holt. Not only are they shocked because he tested positive, but he lost the fight. Usually you hear about a guy testing positive and he wins, right? Well, Kendall Holt, they had said, well, this test could also mean other things, so we're going to evaluate it and everything else. And, here's the statement that was issued on Friday by Kendall Holt, whether it was physically by him or his team. And he says, First and foremost, I want everyone to know that I did not knowingly take any performance-enhancing drug, nor do I believe I unknowingly took any PED. Isn't that the same thing? I did not knowingly take any, nor do I believe I unknowingly took any. So meaning he didn't do it on purpose, and he didn't get slipped anything. He didn't know it, if he did. I love it when they say that. Usually they say that before the test results come out, but he's saying it after the test comes out. He says, the facts are as follows. Now this is getting kind of dicey for me, I think. But he says the facts are as follows. My camp at my instruction. This is why I believe somebody else wrote this for him, of course, because he's already making sure that nobody blames like a trainer or nutritionist or something on his team. He says my camp at my instruction requested WADA, WADA, level testing in conjunction with my bout with Lamont Peterson. Post-bout urine samples were sent to WADA, to the WADA accredited laboratory testing in Salt Lake City. We repeatedly attempted to obtain the lab results from the D.C. Commission with no success until yesterday, which was on Thursday. He says we did, however, receive an email from the Commission stating that both fighters had passed their test. Nonetheless, we wanted the actual lab results. This is kind of strange because they're saying that they finally got lab results on Thursday of last week. The report that they tested positive, I believe, came out earlier in the week, like Monday or Tuesday. So, he says we received those lab tests on Thursday, yesterday, when he wrote this on Friday. He says the lab results were not identified by the fighter, but one of the results showed an evaluated HCG level, and it was labeled as an atypical finding, which we heard. He says there are 3 levels of findings for WADA testing. There's a negative finding, meaning that the athlete has tested negative for prohibited substances. There is an adverse analytical finding, which means that there is a prohibited substance, and there is an atypical finding, meaning there should be further investigation. In this part, this is because there are certain medical conditions which can cause elevated HCG levels. He says we believed that the test involved was that of Mr. Peterson. In fact, it may be mine. He says at this point we do not have a full chain of custody report, which we will obtain. We will also, once the full chain of custody report is obtained, have the B sample tested, which means that they're kind of admitting that it's them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to have the B sample tested. Lamont would. He says, finally, when that is completed, we will have the medical tests as indicated by the results. What does all this mean? To me, this told me a whole lot of nothing. He tried to. His team is trying to make it seem like there was some underhandedness going on. At least that's the way I'm reading this. That there was some underhandedness going on. That they messed up, and that the sample that they got was indeed not his, but that of Lamont Peterson. But he does throw in a couple of words here that would make this not a lie, like the not knowingly part. I did not knowingly take it. The other issue is this last one. He says, we believed that the test involved was that of Mr. Peterson's. In fact, it may be mine. Which means, at first we thought it was Lamont, you dummy, Peterson's. But now this might even be my own test. And how did that happen, since I knowingly did not put anything into my body? It's ridiculous. And if it turns out, I'm not indicating at all that I think it's going to turn out like this, but should it turn out that it was human error, that somebody labeled it wrong or something, doesn't that throw the whole concept of drug testing out the window? To know that somebody messed up, that you could stay clean and your opponent could be dirty, and they mix up the tests and you end up getting banned or suspended or blamed for something you didn't do, and your reputation gets tarnished and everything else. I'm not an expert on performance enhancing drugs. I never claimed to be. It's something that is so deep that I chose, to kind of keep my distance from it. I'll be glad to report the news and give my opinions on findings. But as far as knowing the different agencies and procedures and stuff, I just don't want to be as educated on it as other people. It's just too involved, and that's the reason. I'm not, I'm not saying I'm afraid to learn it. It's just that it's too involved to know it the way you should, other than just giving a comment on the results, which I prefer to do. With that said, in the last year, we have heard of these tests in last 2 years. We have heard of high-profile fighters testing positive. We've seen some moves by other commissions, specifically in Europe, who take swift action and lay down, the penalties, both financial and suspension-wise. We've seen, high-profile guys here in the States, and they claim they didn't know. So what do? We finally pass a rule, and we say, listen, all of the banned substances are at this website. It was accepted by ABC. All of the commissions know it. They all look at it, blah, blah, blah. And it seems like we have no slowdown in fighters that are trying to get away with it. They all have hired a specialist with steroids. They all, they're nutritionists. They keep up on what they can take, what they can't take. Here, take this, take that. Don't take this. Don't eat that. Don't do this. And then, when the test positive again, it's like, we won. We did this. We need to do that. The fighter loses. It's like he didn't do that. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. Fighter tests positive. Huh? He tested positive. Whoa. I was taking what you gave me. In a nutshell, I believe that the United States fighters, we have to be strict with this. The question is do we really want? And I say we, meaning the powers that be. Do they really want no steroids in the sport? Do they feel that steroids can help the sport? Give us better fights or anything? Like in baseball, steroids help the home run. Brought the game back. It was fading a little bit. Brought it back. Are the powers that be just doing enough to keep public opinion off their back? But really, they kind of want it because it adds to it? Or do they really want to get it out of the sport? Do they want to rid the sport of performance-enhancing drugs? If it's the latter, which I hope it is, then they need to send a message. We were talking earlier about Robert Guerrero and how stupid he was for trying to board a plane in New York with a gun, even though it was unloaded and checked and all that. The thing is it's time to set an example. It's time, if a fighter tests a second time, they should be banned for life, really. And all it will take is one scapegoat, one guy, one martyr, so to speak, that will test positive. Andre Berto, let's say, test positive a second time. That's it. He's done. Banned for life. Nobody will do it again because they'll be afraid that that'll happen. Now, what do you do with first-time offenders? What do we do with Kendall Holt if it turns out that he indeed took a performance-enhancing drug? Do you fine him? Do you suspend him for a length of time? 2 years. A substantial length of time. The Nevada State Athletic Commission is under criticism for fining Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. $900,000 for testing positive for smoking weed. He claimed he smoked it 3 weeks before, 2 weeks before, whatever. $900,000 for smoking weed. What can the penalty be for a performance-enhancing drug? It's got to be something substantial. It's got to be. You have to send the message if you don't want it. Which, I'm not saying that they do, but, what is holding back the commissions from really making the penalties on performance-enhancing drugs severe? I'm talking severe. What's holding them back? Why aren't they doing it? It makes no sense to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't. I just don't. I don't want to see it in the sport. And I don't want to see guys that hire a specialist that know the business a little better than the next guy. They're getting away with it. Because that's what you're going to have. You're going to have the guys that know how to stay one step ahead of the system. And they're going to cheat. A cheat is a cheat is a cheater. A cheat is a cheater. There should be no cheaters in any sport because it ruins the whole premise. I think we got to do something serious. I think that the wrist slapping is over. Regardless of what turns out with this particular case, I think it's a message that we got to send. We got to send. And that's just my opinion. I don't know. Hey, don't forget, this weekend, Saturday night, we're going to be broadcasting live. Check out all the information, www.ldltv. Next Saturday, we're going to be broadcasting live. Check out all the information, www.ldltv. You can get the fight posters up on BillyCBoxing.com. We will be putting up a new poll question probably later today. So if you haven't had a chance to vote on the old one, vote. It got a lot closer over the weekend. Check it out. All that happy stuff is going on. We will have Alex Papali doing his blast this week. Kevin Kelly, my man Tony Treem and I are going to shine the heavyweight spotlight on Kenny Norton. Don't forget about today's Talk to Me Man show. It starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Time right here on BillyCBoxing.com. So if you're on the East Coast and you're having lunch, or if you're on the West Coast coming into work, do yourself a favor, tune in right here. Call in, give us your thoughts. We're going to be talking about the Alvarado-Rios fight. I got a bunch of other emails to talk about, so make sure you're there. We definitely want to see you and hear from you and get your thoughts on those fights and some other stuff. I get some interesting things that we're going to be talking about. Remember, we open up the phone lines. We don't open up the phone lines, even though you heard the phones ringing before. We don't typically open up the phone lines here during this show because the show gets aired throughout the country and Canada at multiple times during the day. So, if we say, hey, call now, it could be playing in California, and if you call, nobody's going to be here. Yeah. But we will be here today for the Billy C's Talk to Me Man show, and we'd love to have you part of that. Give us your thoughts. This weekend is kind of a slow weekend for fights. They do have a Roseland Ballroom show, which will be seen right here on Fight Now TV. So check that one out. It's a Lou DiBella show coming at us from the Roseland Ballroom in New York City. Some known guys are on one side of the ledger, so you'll at least be able to see those guys. Louis DeValle, Gabriel Brissario, Jojo Dan, and Yuri Foreman will be the big names on that card, as well as some other fights. We will be talking about some other fights this weekend that we'll have on our challenge, but that'll come up later in the week. So make sure you tune in and check out the show all this week. So we'll be giving you more updates on that. But what it's time for now, well, it's this.
Wake up. It's time for the...
It's too early for a trivia question.
Now, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia question is being brought to us by Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. Check them out. They got 3 locations now, one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan, and one on the Jersey Shore. Don't forget, you can call them, 718-797-2872, 718-797-2872, or you can visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click one of the Gleason's Gym banners. Make sure you sign up for the Boxing Fantasy Camp this year. It's taking place August 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. more commonly known as August 22nd through the 25th, at a resort in the Catskills up in Ellenville, New York. It's a great time. I know you regretted it from last year. Sign up. Call them up, 718-797-2872. Excuse me. Tell them Billy C sent you. Demand a discount. Once you signed up for the Boxing Fantasy Camp, drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com, and I'll hook you up with Dax Khan, who will do a story about you. So check that out. And don't forget, if you want to get an email on today's Talk to Me Man show, it's talktomeman@billycboxing.com. Today's trivia question is being supplied to us by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Haskup, and it's a good one. I've gotten a lot of answers between the first time I read this on Friday morning, over the weekend, and everything else. A lot of close ones, but nobody's gotten it right yet. Which world champion has the longest knockout streak in history? Which world champion has the longest knockout streak in history? If you know this answer, email me, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. And if you're the first one to get it, we'll send you a prize. Now, remember, if you're listening to a replay or if you're listening on the radio or whatever, always answer the question. You never know if it's still floating around there. Email me, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. Like our winner last week, my man Steve said, I didn't. I'm sorry, Chris Flan. He says, I didn't. I figured since you gave a big hint away that somebody would have gotten it, but I figured I would try, and he won. So you always got to try to do it. So which world champion has the longest knockout streak in history? Email me, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. That's right, if you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099, 845-221-4099. Tell Campanaro and Tomkovich that I'll pick up your consultation fee. Make sure you tell them Billy C sent you, and let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. I got two of them for you today. I got a bonus. On this day, April 1st, which is April Fool's Day. I was going to play a joke on everybody, but I didn't. The last time I did that, people really got upset with me. But on this day, April 1st, in 1955, Tony DeMarco knocks out Johnny Saxton in the 14th round to win the world welterweight title, and that took place on this day, April 1st, in 1955, in Boston. A couple years later, on this day in 1960, Emil Griffith knocks out Benny Kid Parrott in the 13th round to win the world welterweight title, and that fight took place on this day in 1960 in Miami. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you show up today. If you're listening to the replay and it's 1 p.m. Eastern Time, check out www.billycboxing.com. We got our new show that's been doing very well. It's called Billy C's Talk to Me, Man. Go into the chat room. You can get your thoughts across. You can call in. We open up the phone lines. Send us an email, talktomeman@billycboxing.com. Get your thoughts across. The show is set up for you. It's all about you. You tell us your thoughts. We comment on it. We'll talk about the Bam Bam Rios and Mike Alvarado show. All of that stuff coming up today, 1 p.m. Eastern. But right now, I got one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel. It's a Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call. Only information about the channel can be found on our website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.